Equivalent ratios and ratio tables. So our essential question again is, how do you use equivalent rates in the real world? So an equivalent ratio expresses the same relationship between quantities, or the same numbers. So in our examples here, can I make that equivalent ratio? I need to either multiply or divide. I'm thinking 4 to 12. How do I get there? Well, I multiply by 3, so I need to do that on the top and the bottom to get 45 as an answer for the first example. Moving over here to the right, 36 and 6. Well, how do I go from 6 to 36? I multiply by 6. So 7 times 6 is 42. And on the bottom here, I'm given a question mark in my first fraction. So I need to go backwards. If I'm working backwards, I should try to divide 27 back to 9. Well, that's divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on the top and the bottom to figure 7 is my answer there. And here, 16 to 48, I would end up multiplying by 3. And then so 21 times 3 is going to end up being 63. So you're going to either multiply or divide to find an equivalent ratio. So for the first ones, you're making the equivalent ratio. Now we're going to check and see if two ratios are equivalent. And I can check whether two ratios are equivalent by cross products, or what we say is cross multiplying. So I'm going to end up multiplying the numbers that are across from one another. You're going to be able to use a calculator on these sections for today. So if I do this problem, I have 150 over here, and then 18 times 20 ends up being 360. So these numbers here and here, we want them to be the same. If they aren't the same, it is not equivalent. Moving on to the next one. Again, I am cross multiplying. So I'm going to take 90 times 14, which is 1,260. So then I'm going to take 80 times 70, which is also 1,260. So I know these two ratios are equivalent. Multiplying across, 5 times 5 is 25. 12 times 2 is 24. So these are not equivalent. The next one, 16 times 16 is 256. Then I take 64 times 4, which is also 256. So these two ratios are equivalent. So 13 times 13 is 169. And then 9 times 8 is 72. So that one is not equivalent. This one I would have been able to figure out right away. If I cross multiply here and I figure that's 72 and my other numbers are bigger, I don't need to worry about it. I know that that's going to end up being bigger. 3 times 20, that's 60. 15 times 4 is also 60. So these are equivalent. And then 9 times 6 is 54. And 27 times 2, well, 20 and 20 is 40. And so then I have 14 left over, which is 54. So that is equivalent as well. So not hard. We just need to make sure that we multiply the numbers that are across from one another and see if these ratios are equal, and then either highlight or bold equivalent or not equivalent.